and welcome to our time together. My name is Tony Fisher, and I'm grateful to welcome you into this worship space this morning. Let's start by singing. Our opening hymn is "Come Sing a Song with Me." The words will be on the screen. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. My name is Patty Bryan, and I'm your worship associate for this morning. We're grateful for your presence, whether you're watching this service on Sunday or whether you found just the right time during the week to watch the recorded version. Whether you're a regular at UUCGN or have just found us online. We are a welcoming congregation, freely seeking intellectual and spiritual growth. We strive to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. Even in this time of separation, each of us is encouraged to grow spiritually in fellowship with others by joining in worship and online activities that feature education, reflection, and discussion. We try to do all this in the spirit of love and acceptance, reaching out with our hearts, offering mutual support in these times of separation. If you're new to us and are interested in getting on our mailing list or finding out more about this wonderful congregation, we urge you to check out the website or send an email to office@uunaples.org. We would love to hear from you. Please take a peek at the email notices that are being sent out each week, and that offers you links to learning and fellowship opportunities. There's also our virtual coffee hour page on Facebook. And if you're watching this on Sunday, you can find a chat button and connect with others who are watching in the morning. And today, we will be having a short video of the Emerson Academy, highlighting some of the programs and the people involved. The Emerson Academy just completed its summer session.
Good morning, everyone. Tony asked me to give a brief update of our third year of Emerson Academy College Prep Program as we are closing out our final week of scheduled classes. Emerson Academy is a free summer educational program started in 2018 under the auspices of the Social Justice Education Subcommittee in collaboration with the Collier County branch of the NAACP. It has been funded completely with unsolicited donations from members and friends of UUCGN. Our mission is to help economically challenged minority students in their quest for a college or university education. Most of our students are drawn from ethnic populations which are disproportionately underrepresented in STEM, business management, legal, and highly remunerative professions. Our students display the following characteristics: self-motivation with sights on a professional career, high academic achievement, first or second in their family to attend college, ethnic minority, educationally underserved. In 2019, we had a total enrollment of 28, which included 11 rising seniors. We were able to assist 3 of those seniors in obtaining full scholarships to Johns Hopkins University, Northeastern University, and Florida State University. This year, our total enrollment of 40 includes 25 rising seniors coming from 6 area high schools. Our faculty consists of 4 professional teachers covering language arts, mathematics, and guidance counseling. We have also retained a junior from New York University to work directly with each of our seniors in the next few months in their quest for admission with adequate financial aid to top colleges and universities. Our program this year has been conducted entirely online. Morning classes are devoted to college entrance exam test preparation. Afternoons have included college application essay writing and guidance counseling programs, a popular interactive session on preparing for and conducting interviews, a student panel of Emerson alumni, college students, and a first-generation Mexican-American graduate of the University of Pennsylvania who won a full paid Questbridge scholarship. We have also had representatives from 8 in-state colleges and universities recruiting our students, and a session with a retired Dartmouth College professor and a first-generation Hispanic American graduate of Dartmouth. In addition to the education component of Emerson Academy, we try to make introductions for our students with retired professionals in science, engineering, medicine, public affairs, and other fields. Between now and November, when college applications are due, Emerson Academy will be assisting rising seniors as they navigate the challenges to perfect applications for college admissions and financial aid. In the next few months, we also will be helping our seniors and rising juniors to expand the Emerson Academy Literacy Project. This program was started last year with students from Golden Gate High School. It was in the process of being widened to include Estero High School and Lely High School when the pandemic closed schools and cooperating public libraries. Our goal is to create an online version of our own Book Buddies program to enable it to be used throughout the Collier County public school system with the goal of improving reading abilities for middle school students. Finally, I wish to thank the donors who have supported Emerson Academy in the past 2 years. In these times, when so much attention in communities like ours is focused on making statements of anti-racism, we might recall the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Your actions speak so loudly, I cannot hear what you are saying. I am hopeful that our work for underserved minority students sends a clear, substantive message of anti-racism from UUCGN to our wider community. In so doing, our congregation is moving closer to making the dream of equality in educational opportunities a reality. Thank you.
And now, let us center ourselves by finding a comfortable position, taking a deep breath, and entering into this time of worship together as Stu and Rich play this morning's Prelude.
Our world shakes, and we seek stability. Our heads spin with the news, and we seek balance. Our hearts break from stories of pain and loss, and we seek comfort. In the midst of all this turmoil, we light our chalice as a beacon of hope, a reminder that the grounding we need comes both from within and with a community of courageous seekers ready to share the journey ahead toward a world made whole and more beautiful by our love. Let's join in saying our response. You'll see on the screen. May this flame stir our hearts and remind us of our mission to be truly welcoming, to grow in mind and spirit, and to widen the circle of peace, justice, and love. We lost two huge champions of our struggle for equality and justice last weekend, C.T. Vivian and John Lewis. Both came out of the Baptist Seminary in Nashville. Both were involved in the Freedom Riders and early work in the Civil Rights era. Both continued the work towards a more just and whole society. In an interview John Lewis gave on a pilgrimage to Selma 7 years ago, he talked with interviewer Krista Tippett. He talked about how when growing up as a child, he saw segregation and racial discrimination, and that he didn't like it. He'd asked his mother and his father and his grandparents, all loving, caring individuals, why these things existed. And they would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way. Don't cause trouble. But Lewis was a good listener, attending church school, reading the Bible, the teachings of what he called the great teacher, being deeply influenced by what he saw. And in that thinking, in that reading, was a belief that somehow things could be better, that there was a way, that you have to have a sense of hope, a sense of optimism and faith. Lewis had that sense, always. He believed if he had that faith and believed in his own capacity and his ability to get things done, that he too could change the world. Looking at leaders like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr., he was inspired. He raised a lot of questions. People would tell him he was too nosy. He'd get in trouble. And he wanted to believe. He did believe. And even though, and through those times where the world threw up all the realities that they could at John Lewis, he stood firm in his faith and belief, discovering that you have to have this sense of faith, that you're moving towards something that is already there. It's already happened. A power to believe that what you see, what you visualize can be. A sense of community, a sense of family, a sense of one house, as he put it. And if you live, he said, as if you're already there, that community, that sense of being part of a whole, if you visualize it, it will be, at least for you. And during the early days of the movement, he said, when they were sitting in, it was love in action. When they went on the Freedom Ride, it was love in action. The March on Selma to Montgomery, and even through Bloody Sunday, it was love in action. They did it not simply because it was the right thing to do, but because it was love in action. They believed strongly in the vision. They loved their country. They loved a democratic society. And they moved their feet and their hearts and their hands and their minds to make it so. John Lewis. Last week, we used as our centering hymn, "We Would Be One," and I was singing it here in the pulpit, and I realized how perfect it is for our service today. So, having had one opportunity to sing last week, we'll sing it again this week. We would be one. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves with higher service, with love and justice strive to make us free. So we welcome into this time of sharing, of joys and sorrows, of all those things in our lives that remain unspoken in our social distance. We think about one another sitting, each of us, in front of a computer screen or maybe a television screen or an iPad or even a phone, connecting some way with one another. This past week, I've had a number of people write and express joys and sorrows. Flo Beckler sends her love to this congregation who seems to hold her so well. She's so appreciative of the attention that she has received in this time. Linda Bensman holds deep anxiety for her nephew Alex, who will be undergoing a kidney transplant this week, donated by his brother Michael at Emory University in Atlanta, in a time of coronavirus, doubling the anxiety of the family. So our hearts are not only with Alex and Michael, but also with Laura as she holds them both and her anxiety. With sadness this morning, I report to you the death of Richard Gilman, Guilford. Richard passed away yesterday morning early from complications from pulmonary fibrosis. Richard was a vital member of this congregation. His wit and intellect both, wonders to behold. Our thoughts go out to Sue and the family in their moment of loss and grief. They have been able to visit Richard in hospital, and so at least we are grateful for that, but such a loss to the family and to this congregation. For that and so many other joys and sorrows that we hold, each one of us, each and every day, in the midst of this uncertain time. Let's take a few minutes together in silence. Our meditation this morning comes to us from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Himself no stranger to grief and loss, to struggle and pain and hope. This is where we are. Where do we go from here? First, we must massively assert our dignity and worth. We must stand up amidst a system that still oppresses and develop an unassailable and majestic sense of values. What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. And this is what we must see as we move on. So may it be.
The Reverend Dr. William F. Schultz is a UU minister who served as president of our national organization, the Unitarian Universalist Association, as its president, before moving on to become the executive director of Amnesty International USA, and then the director of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee from 2010 to 2016. He currently serves as senior fellow at the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and also as the affiliate professor of preaching and public ethics at Meadville Lombard Theological School of Chicago. He's an accomplished guy. He writes, Unitarian Universalism affirms that creation is too grand, complex, and mysterious to be captured in a narrow creed. And that is why we cherish individual freedom of belief. At the same time, our convictions about creation lead us to other affirmations, that the blessings of life are available to everyone, not just the chosen or the saved, that creation itself is holy, the earth and all its creatures, the stars in all their glory, that the sacred or divine, the precious and profound are made evident not in the miraculous or the supernatural, but in the simple and the everyday. That human beings, joined in collaboration with gifts of grace, are responsible for the planet and its future. That every one of us is held in creation's hand, a part of the interdependent cosmic web, and hence strangers need not be enemies. That no one is saved until we all are saved, where all means the whole of creation. That the paradox of life is to love it all the more, even though we ultimately lose it.
Thank you, Patty. And I want to thank Rich Zalisco, and Stuart for the music this morning, and the music of Oliver Nelson and John Coltrane and Miles Davis, each who were expressing their own yearnings for freedom through what they wrote and how they played. And I want to thank you, Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples, and your gifts to this congregation of time and talent and treasure of your thoughts, the way we step up to sustain and support something like Emerson Academy and other initiatives that the congregation brings to bear. It is a vital congregation, but still in need of your support. So I hope that during this time and the next musical offering that you take a minute and write a check and send it in, or go to our webpage and push the donate button. For the ongoing mission of this congregation and all its work will be gratefully received.
Named New York's Poet Laureate in 1991, Audre Lorde used her words to address sexism, classism, homophobia, and racism in America. Throughout her career as a writer, librarian, and civil rights activist, Lorde authored more than 10 books, including Sister Outsider, and she was the subject of 3 biographical films. As you'll hear in this selection from 1997, a lecture titled The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action, Lorde described herself as a Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, poet. What are the words you do not yet have? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you sicken and die of them, still in silence? Perhaps for some of you here today, I am the face of one of your fears because I am woman, because I am Black, because I am lesbian, because I am myself, a Black woman, warrior, poet, doing my work. Come to ask you, are you doing yours? And of course I'm afraid, because the transformation of silence into language and action is an act of self-revelation, and that always seems fraught with danger. But my daughter, when I told her of our topic and my difficulty with it, she said, "Tell them about how you never really a whole person if you remain silent. Because there's always that one little piece inside you that wants to be spoken out. And if you keep ignoring it, it gets madder and madder and madder and hotter and hotter. And if you don't speak it out, one day it'll just up and punch you in the mouth from the inside." Yikes.
My 8th grade English teacher, Mrs. Cheever, was a bundle of energy, although at the time I remember thinking, along with my classmates, that she was ancient. She believed in the power of language, and she wanted to make sure we understood it as well as her students. Mrs. Cheever had this way of reminding us what we already knew. She might ask a question, and if an answer didn't seem to be forthcoming from any one of us, she would focus in on us a little more, and believe me, you knew when she was focusing in. And of course, the rest of the class was aware as well. She had this way of focusing in and bringing us back to attention, and then ask the question in a slightly different way that might possibly shift that adolescent brain away from distractions and into a little bit more clarity, and remembering that we actually knew the answer to what she had asked in the first place. So that's what this sermon is about, reminding us all of what we already know, but from which we can easily get distracted because we can. That we know that there are inequities in the world and in our society that demand our full attention. And more central to this conversation, that we have within us the power and the love to move beyond our comfort zones and respond in collaborative, constructive, and healing ways to be one family, one community, one house, in John Lewis's words. Last week I spoke about finding peace and taking that deep, centering breath. This week I want to talk about staying at that center and doing the work that we often avoid, digging down deep to ask ourselves some hard questions so that we can be honest about where we are when we start this journey towards wholeness. Listening to our hearts, grounding ourselves in those things that we believe are of greatest importance, not just to ourselves, but for our place, our collective place in the world. And asking again, what is it that our values and our beliefs call us to do? Within Unitarian Universalism, there are signposts, some of which tell us where we should avoid, what we should avoid. Some of them signposts that offer a path. This past June, the Commission on Institutional Change brought forth 3 years ago at General Assembly, gave their report to our united congregations virtually online in the General Assembly this year. The Commission on Institutional Change was created because the Unitarian Universalist Association has fallen into traps of white supremacist culture. We've tried hard in the past. We've created task force and trainings, resolutions out to the world, studies and reports, and still we have stumbled in our quest towards a more just and perfect institution. And so the Commission on Institutional Change was created to listen, to hear the stories of people who have been hurt in our denomination, and to respond with a clear set of guidelines in moving forward. The problem with Unitarian Universalists, someone once said, is that they think the ultimate goal is understanding. Henry Hampton, filmmaker best known for the PBS series Eyes on the Prize, also once served the Unitarian Universalist Association as Director of Information and Publicity, wrote that Unitarian Universalists don't dream. He wrote, "You have to think of the world as you really would have it," much like John Lewis. "I don't mean wish it," Hampton said, "I mean dream it." And sometimes I think Unitarian Universalists wish more than they dream. We have a history of falling into pitfalls, as I said, but we also have a history of strengths. Strengths that we call on as we view our issues, the issues before us today. Early Unitarians spoke of the unity of all things. The language we use today is the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And the Universalists' belief in a love powerful enough to save the entire world. As the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt writes, "We are the theological inheritors of universal salvation. There is no winnowing out of the supposedly unworthy that can be named sacred among us. It is our very universalism that is at stake when we turn away from the impact our institutions have on the same communities and groups that society encourages us to dehumanize and make small." The reading from Bill Schultz this morning was clear. Our universalism says that none of us are saved until all are saved. None are free until all are free. None of us can be whole until we can be whole together. In this coming year, as I mentioned last week, we'll be spending time with an overarching theme of anti-racism. We won't dwell on it every week, don't worry, but it will be front and center in what we do this year, whether we're virtual or not. And we'll be using the Commission on Institutional Change as something of a guide as we begin our work. And as they began their report with the suggestion that we return to our theological roots, so I suggest that each one of us start our own journey from where we are, deepening into the things that each of us feel are of ultimate importance, our own grounding in beliefs and values, how we fit into this world both individually and collectively. We know we should be doing this work, and I'm acting as Mrs. Cheever this morning and reminding us all that it's important that we know what's inside. We just have to call it forth and then act on it. Find the language to use to bring that love out into the world. This is no time to be tentative about what we believe. What is of deepest importance to you and me and to us collectively needs to be brought forward and then brought out into the world. And this work is not something any one of us can do in a vacuum. This week, a pilot group of our congregation will begin working together to better articulate their individual philosophies within the context of open and honest sharing with one another. And part of what they will be considering is what their own philosophies call them to do in the context of a culture that oppresses some while privileging others. As we move into the fall, I hope other groups like this can form and become a building block of a more intentional congregational mindset of where we fit and how we act in the wider community. At General Assembly this past June, I participated in a workshop on anti-racism. And in that workshop, one of the other participants talked about this being a liquefied moment. There is so much in flux right now. So many things that have been shaken up. So many ways to dive into what seemed solid before and affect change in the way that things are structured. So yes, I believe we need to deepen individually and find our center and name what's inside that motivates us into action. And then we need to step beyond our comfort zones and do what needs to be done. There are so many opportunities today to make a difference. Some of us ask, well, what can I do? But Carrie McDonald, our Unitarian Universalist Association Director of Operations, said that the question might not necessarily be, what can I do, but with whom am I in relationship? Not just individuals, but institutions. Where do I send my money? How do I interact with the world? Where do I go? We need to think clearly about the ways that we conform to a society that oppresses some while privileging others. For so many of us, and for so long, the prize, to some degree, has been a sense of security, be it emotional or financial or otherwise. But this pandemic and the unfiltered view it has given us of the world has made it clear that oppression is not an abstract thing that we can view from afar. It impacts our daily lives and always has. So we both need to center and deepen into what will motivate us to move outside of our comfort zones and begin to make a difference in that world we have woken to. close with these words from the poet David Whyte, the English poet. Just beyond yourself is where you need to be. Half a step into self-forgetting and the rest restored by what you'll meet. There is a road always beckoning. When you see the two sides of it closing together at that far horizon and deep in the foundations of your own heart at exactly the same time, that's how you know it's the road you have to follow. That's how you know it's where you have to go. That's how you know just beyond yourself is where you need to be. May it be so. Let's sing a couple of verses of This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So stay safe, but send your heart out into the world and let it shine. Have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil. Support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. Have a wonderful day.